Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. Today I'm going to be doing my March wrap-up, which I'm so excited about because I've read the most books I've ever read in 1 month. It is all of these books. It's quite a lot. It's 12 books. So I read 12 books in total this month, and my average rating was 4.3. So it was an awesome reading month in numbers and in quality. And I read so many good books, and I know that my expectations for the next month are kind of like raised with how much I read during this month, but it was a great time, and I really enjoyed so much of the things I read. I found a new favorite series of mine, and then I also let myself indulge in just some of my comfort reads, and I read a lot of good horror, and it was great. I'm going to start with the first book I read this month, which is so crazy to think that I actually read this month because it seems so far in the past. But that is Spinning Silver by Naomi Novik. I gave this book a 5 out of 5. It was so good. It's a Russian-based fairy tale retelling of Rumpelstiltskin, and I know I've heard the story before, but I honestly could not tell you the story of Rumpelstiltskin, but this was so good. It has 3 main characters that are different girls in this town with very different backgrounds and very different situations, and they all kind of get entangled into this magical plot in different ways, and it is so good. It's a big book. It was about 500 pages, maybe a little, so it was 450 something, but it felt so long in a good way because there's so many twists, and I remember being maybe a third of the way through, and it felt like that was going to be it was so good and such a good story. It felt like the book was about to end there. It was such a dramatic, climactic moment that I was like, how could there possibly be even more for this book to have going on? And it delivered. It had even more. It was so good. I definitely will be rereading it again. I'm excited to pick up more from Naomi Novik. I know I want to read her A Deadly Education is one of my 21 books to read in 2021, but she also has a book Uprooted, which I think is kind of similar to this one. It might be a fairy tale retelling as well. So yeah, it is a beautiful cover too. And I finally am working my way through some of the book of the month books that I've been hoarding. But this was so good. I definitely highly recommend. It was an awesome winter fairy tale. Right after I finished Spinning Silver, I started what was my main goal for this month, which was reading the Shadow and Bone trilogy and diving into the Grishaverse. And I loved this trilogy so much. I did do a Shadow and Bone reading vlog for all 3 books. I will link that up above and down below. That was super fun, and I got obsessed with these books. I read them so quickly. I think I read Shadow and Bone in a little over a day, and they are YA, and they have pretty big text and pretty large margins, so it is a super fast read, and I think that's a good thing of that. No, it's not the best fantasy ever told. I gave the first book, Shadow and Bone, a 4-star, but I really liked the characters, and I think Leigh Bardugo has a really amazing talent for banter. The banter in all of her books is just so good between characters, and I think this series made me realize that I'm a very character-driven person over plot. The plot doesn't have to be the most original or exciting thing ever, that I will become emotionally attached to a character and I will be obsessed with them, which is definitely what happened in this book. I love Alina and Mal. The Darkling is also awesome as well, just because of the intrigue and the banter between them, but it was a very good book. I liked it. I rated it 4 stars just because there were some parts of the world building that I felt weren't really hashed out well, and even at the end of this book and even the end of the series, there's still some aspects of the magic system or the world that I didn't really understand super well. This was written in 2012, so and I haven't read a whole bunch of YA fantasy before, but I enjoyed this, and that's all I really needed from it. It also was so fast that I feel it doesn't have to be that good because it's such a quick read that it doesn't have to be like the best book in the entire world. Like Brandon Sanderson, the books are so long and they're so good, but like this is such a quick read. I think it's definitely worth it. And so for Siege and Storm, I also gave it 4 stars. This definitely got kind of boring in the middle, I'm not gonna lie. I was like skipping ahead to parts trying to look for the word Darkling to see when the Darkling would show up, but they're always talking about the Darkling, so that didn't really help me because usually they would just have a conversation about him. But another super fast read. I definitely finished this in like 2.5 days, I think. And I really liked the world and everything. I love Alina, and I think it was pretty good. It went ways that I wasn't expecting. A lot of people just say like the Shadow and Bone trilogy is very basic and has like kind of overused tropes, but also again, I haven't read that much YA fantasy, so I really enjoyed it. And yeah, I gave this 4 stars still because I love the character stuff. And then we have Rohan and Rising, another super fast read, and I gave this 5 stars because, guys, I get so stressed. I was literally stressed like halfway through the first book of this trilogy about how it was going to end, and I was going to be so upset about it. I get so upset about the endings of series, and I feel like I'm just going to be put into a reading slump, or I'm going to be so upset. This is my favorite ending to a series ever. Out of any books series that I've ever read, ever, this is my favorite ending. It gave me absolutely everything that I wanted out of an ending, like the perfect amount of information of what happens to people after the fact, and I was literally like sobbing happy tears. I reread like the ending multiple times. It was great. I liked this book a lot. I thought it was a great end to the trilogy, and I really enjoyed them all. So I gave this one 5 stars just because it was so good, but I loved this series, and I'm really excited because I want to reread them again. It's not super daunting because they were such quick reads that I know if I feel like rereading them, all I have to do is set aside like a week and I can definitely get through them all. So yeah, that was they're all messed up now, Shadow and Bone trilogy. So as soon as I finished that, I was obsessed, and I immediately started Six of Crows, which is the duology that follows Shadow and Bone. It's not super related. It takes place in the same world with the same magic system, but it's kind of separate from Shadow and Bone. Like, it's different characters in a different country. You get a lot of like glimpses of what was going on, and like it's kind of like the aftermath almost, but I really liked that a lot, and the characters in this were so good. This was written much more recently, and Leigh Bardugo's writing style has definitely like really matured in this, and it was so good. I was so excited to get like the world that I really loved with like the amped up really good writing style. I gave this 5 out of 5. I've never read a heist story before, and at first I wasn't really like into the super grimy like atmosphere, but I love characters, and these characters were so good. I would die for every single one of them, and it was great. It had me like guessing until the end. The end had me like, so I did start to read Crooked Kingdom after this, but I started to read like 2 chapters, and I think I'd kind of like Grishaversed myself out, so I did take a break, but I am going to pick that up this month. I can't decide if I'm about to pick up today Crooked Kingdom or From Blood and Ash. So let me know which one you think that I should jump into. I'm going to read both this month, but don't know what to pick up right now, and I would love some suggestions. But yeah, I gave this 5 out of 5. I can already tell you right now, Crooked Kingdom is going to get a 5 out of 5 just because I love the world and the characters so much. This month I read the first and the second volumes of the My Hero Academia mangas, and they were so good. I am obsessed with this anime, and I'm so glad that my husband started buying me these. He bought the first one, I think, for me for Valentine's Day, and then I've just been picking up a few of them every once in a while, and they're so good. It's just like so happy and like fulfilling and like comforting to like go back, and I already know like the plot lines and everything so well. It's super similar to the anime so far, which I don't know if it's going to drift a little eventually, but yeah, I read these 2 and it was so much fun, and I'm already reading the third. I'm thinking about this month just buying like 5 of them and really like going through them, but we will see. I like these both. I gave them 5 stars. Honestly, I'll probably give them all 5 stars, and I'm not a great biased reviewer of these because I just love the characters and I love the stories. And yeah, that's it. I would love to talk to anyone about My Hero Academia because it's all I think about all day, every day. Okay, so next are the books that I read for the mini Spooktober readathon that was hosted by Rylan. I did film a vlog for this that I will be putting up after this video. My next video that I put up will be that vlog. It was super fun. I will link it up above if it's up. If it's not, just subscribe and make sure you're here for it because it is really good. And I read a ton of books. I did not think I was going to read that much during that time, but I succeeded. I actually read all of the books from my TBR except for one. And I'm really proud of it because I did not think that I was going to read that many because the month before, I think I read 4 books, and then the month before that, I read 3 books. And so now to read 12 books, I really exceeded my honest beliefs about my abilities, but I'm super happy about it. So the first book that I read for the Spooktober readathon was My Sister the Serial Killer by Oyinkan Braithwaite. And I was super, super excited for this book. It was super hyped up. It has super, super short chapters, literally a page, 2 pages, 3 pages. The longest chapter in the whole book was probably 6 pages, and that was 1 chapter. Most of them are 3 pages, which really made me fly through it. But it was pretty good. I think my expectations were super, super high for it, and I wasn't crazy about the ending, which some people might really like the ending. The ending wasn't what I personally wanted, but it was still good. It is about a woman whose sister is a serial killer. She will kill her boyfriends that she has, and her sister helps her clean everything up and cover up the crime. And her sister, the main character, works at a hospital, and there's this doctor that she has a huge, huge crush on. And the doctor meets her sister and says, "Oh, can you give me your sister's number?" And she's like, I don't want this to happen because I know it's going to happen. So it was pretty good. It was super short, a really quick read. And I gave it 3 stars because I liked it, but it wasn't amazing. I didn't love it, definitely, but I'm super glad that I read it. I'm super glad that I read it, and the cover is so pretty. So I have no regrets at all. I enjoyed it. Hey guys, I'm just jumping in here. This is editing me before all the horror books because I completely forgot to mention that a lot of these have some pretty intense trigger warnings. So any of the books I talk about here, please go and look up the trigger warnings before you read them. There's a lot of really rough stuff that happens in these books. Woman in the Window especially has a lot. And Goth has literally almost every single trigger warning. It's very, very intense. So please look up trigger warnings before you start to pick up any of these books. Thank you. The next book that I read was The Woman in the Window by AJ Finn. I was scared that this book was going to be super slow and put me in a reading slump in the middle of the readathon, and that's kind of what it did. But I pushed through and I read 300 pages in one day. And I just think this book was good. I think I gave it 3 stars. It definitely could have had 100 pages cut out of it, and then it would have been good. But I understand that the style of it was really supposed to put yourself in the main character's shoes, and that it was kind of the vibe of what her life was like. But it was just too much for me. It was too drawn out. The twists were really good. Some of them I saw coming and some of them I did not see coming, and they really got me. So that was enjoyable once things actually started happening. But it is about a woman who has agoraphobia, I believe, and she is afraid of leaving her house, and so she's basically stuck in her house all day. And she self-medicates, and she's on a ton of medication, and she also drinks very heavily with her medication, which is not recommended. And one night she sees her neighbor get murdered, and she thinks she sees it, but the police tell her it didn't happen. And so now she's like, am I crazy? Did I see it? Did I not see it? And it was good. I gave it 3 stars because I liked it. It would have been 4 stars, honestly, if it was just 100 pages shorter. It was long, but I plowed through it. It was worth it. It's about to be a movie, I believe the sticker on the front tells me, so I'll definitely watch the movie. I think the movie might be depending on how well it's done, a better use of someone's time rather than spending all this time reading this long book. But yeah, I enjoyed it. So the next book I read, I was so excited to pick up and actually read, and that was Uzumaki by Junji Ito. This is a horror manga. It's huge, but it's manga, so it's like not crazy long, but it was really good. I didn't realize that it's basically like a collection of short stories, which was pretty cool. So it's basically about this town that in Japan that is haunted by spirals. And it's haunted with spirals, like contaminated with spirals, like basically spirals are taking over the town. And it has a ton of short stories basically that chronicle our main character and her boyfriend just being in the town as it gets crazier and different things related to these spirals start happening, and the whole town just kind of descends into this madness caused by the spiral. And it's really good. I think my favorite chapters were, so there's like 19 like chapters which are all like short stories. I think my favorite one was the chapter 5, The Twisted Souls, and I really liked the mosquitoes and the umbilical cord chapter, even though that was like, it was really messed up, but I liked that. I thought it was like good. So I'm not going to say what those chapters were about in case you haven't read them, but if you have read them, those are my favorites out of it. It was really good. The ending wasn't really what I expected, but also when I picked this up, people were like, oh, it's super disturbing, it's gory, and I was like, for some reason when I hear something is disturbing, I'm like, oh, I bet like a normal person would find that disturbing, but like not me. And I don't know what gives me the idea that have a higher like tolerance for disturbing things than other people. I don't know where I got that idea from, because I don't think I do, because this was so disturbing and definitely graphic, but there were parts of it that I was like, oh my god, I was horrified. And I don't know why I was shocked because that's literally what all the reviews said, but it was really good. I gave it 4 stars. I really liked it, and it was super thick. It was just a really fun thing to like read continuously through the week, and it felt like a really big like treat for myself, just like reading some manga instead of some books. So I think I'm definitely going to try and get myself some more manga because I really enjoy reading them. It just feels like a treat compared to normal books, which maybe I'm just like putting too much pressure on myself to read normal books, and that's why I like the mangas. But who knows, maybe that might be what's going on. And so then the next book that I read for the mini Spooktober readathon was The Girl in the Mirror by Rose Carlyle. This book was lent to me by my friend Cami, and she told me it was really good, and it was so good. I really loved this book. The vibe was amazing. I'm going to tell you basically the plot of it, which some people might see as like a little bit of a spoiler, but it's the premise of it that got me interested in reading it, and if I didn't hear what the premise was, I never would have picked it up. So if you don't want to hear it, just skip forward a few seconds. So it's about these 2 twins, and one of them is like really sweet and nice and just like a great person, and the other one is honestly like kind of like a psychopath. She's super narcissistic, super dark, doesn't really care for other people, and she's obsessed with her twin and just really wants everything that her twin has, which is a super nice house, a rich husband, a very attractive husband that the twin is attracted to, and she's basically just jealous of everything that she has. And on top of this, their dead dad made a like contest for his huge inheritance that says the person that has the first legitimate child, so like an heir to his fortune, wins the $100 million that he left behind. And the narrator obviously wants that prize, but she's not in the best position to get it, and her twin is, so she's kind of already like kind of miffed about that. They go on a sailing trip and an accident happens, and an opportunity arises for the main character to take her twin's spot in her life. And that's when things start getting crazy, and it was really good. I really liked like the sailing. They sail from like Thailand to Africa, I think, and I really liked the vibes of that, and this was really, really good. I saw like the first twist like kind of coming, and then the other ones I was like, wait, what? And then like I always skim through the last page of books, and I was like, wait, what happened? I don't understand. And then I really read the last page, and I was like, so it was very, very good. The twists were amazing. I really liked the vibes. It got a little slow in the middle, but not too bad. So I gave this 4 stars. I highly recommend. This was amazing. Last but not least, because this is probably, I don't know if this is my favorite book that I read this month, but this is the one I'm most excited to talk about. And it is at the end of the video, which, oh well, most people probably won't see me talk about it, but I finished this on March 2nd, technically, but I read most of it during March, and I have a lot of things to say about it right now, and if I wait, I'm going to forget about it, so I'm talking about it in this month's wrap-up. It is Goth by Uzumaki. This book was so good. I was so excited for it, and it was so worth it. It's a collection of, I think this version has 6 short stories about 2 teenagers in high school who are both morbidly fascinated with death. And basically they get into these different scenarios in different of the short stories, and there's a huge amount of like serial killers in their town, like a weird amount, and they all seem like mysteriously attracted to the girl Marino in this book, and the protagonist just kind of usually will figure out what's going on and follow along, but not to save Marino, just to witness whatever is about to happen. And it was really good. It was super graphic. It was really disturbing, but like so entertaining. Like seeing how these people think, and you're like, oh my gosh, like they find some evidence for a serial killer, and they're like, they keep it for themselves. And they're like, if we don't turn this evidence in and someone else dies, we're probably the cause of their death. And they're like, yep, and just don't turn it in. And it was really, really good. I liked it. This was another one that I was like shocked at how disturbing it was when reviews literally said like, this is super, super disturbing. I gave it 5 out of 5. I am desperate to read more stuff like this, but so many Japanese horror novels, like, you cannot find anywhere, and on Amazon they're like $70, so I don't understand. But if you have any recommendations for me, please leave me some, because I need to read more of these. So that is the end of my March wrap-up video. Thank you so much for watching. Don't forget to leave a like and a comment down below, and I will see you guys next time. Bye!